Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Put your questions in the comments now so that as soon as I'm finished talking about what I have to talk about, we can get straight to your questions. So yesterday I talked about the Florida bill, immigration bill, and I found a really good chart that provided a summary of what the law can do and what it doesn't do. So I'm going to go ahead and post that video later today or later this week. So you'll always have that video to be able to understand, understand to what extent should you be concerned and to what and how can you conduct your life if you're here in Florida, or what you need to be aware of if you're even thinking of coming to Florida. But there's more to come, and I advise you, or I give you information about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And a few months ago, we heard about the Dignity Act. That's a bipartisan proposed law that's making its way through Congress right now, that would work to legalize immigrants. However, keep in mind that any kind of progress on the Dignity Act is really going to be dependent on a lot of factors here. And one of those factors will be who is going to win the 2024 election, because that is going to dictate the tone here and what direction the immigration reform goes in. Do you really think that a type of president who is aiming to cut immigration is going to endorse the Dignity Act? Probably not. And even though the Dignity Act is a bipartisan bill, it really is. It has been proposed by certain Republican politicians who can find middle ground, but we're looking at more extreme individuals that are dominating the political scene right now, and they're not as willing to compromise to get to positive immigration reform. And I see this more than ever in so Trump has released his immigration agenda. And keep in mind that we have seen him do it before. He's not bluffing. He has done it before. And if he had won the election, I don't want to know what else would have been coming. Luckily, that didn't happen. And even though there's a lot of work to be done, we're seeing more actions towards fixing the things the way they are, right? So instead of things getting worse, we are seeing some improvements. And we're hoping that if the right side wins, which would at this point it would be the Democratic side, if that side wins, or if a politician that comes with reasonable, positive immigration reform wins, then we can see that continue, and we can see conditions for immigrants and undocumented immigrants improve. But I want to make you aware of this. So this is what could potentially, the negative, the worst case scenario that could be coming. And so Trump has said that he's going to focus he has a very long list. I have a page full of notes here about what he has planned. So the first is that I have on my list here is he would end birthright citizenship. Now, this is a constitutional right. If you're born on US soil, you're a citizen. He would literally have through all the processes to change the constitution to be able to end birthright citizenship. But we have seen him violate constitutional rights before and violate the human right to be able to enforce the immigration laws that he wanted. He has a Supreme Court who is more conservative. So the Supreme Court is more conservative, and even though they are supposed to make seeing that we're having connection problems, but I think we're back. So we're back. So I was just saying here that birthright citizenship, when you're born here, it's a constitutional right that you are a U.S. citizen. However, keep in mind that we have seen the Supreme Court, deprive women of the right to choose. That was also a constitutional right. And they turned around and said, nope, that's not a constitutional right. So keep in mind that if we have a president like Trump, then they can justify in some way, they can move forward with an argument to justify why children of undocumented immigrants, because that's where they would be ending the birthright citizenship. It would be for children of undocumented immigrants. They would, if that child was born to an undocumented immigrant, that child would not be a US citizen. And so he's saying that he's going to do this. And do we want to wait and see what he does? No. But if he does win the election, that's what's going to happen, is that we as, we as immigrants, the immigrant community will have to react to any kind of attack against children of undocumented immigrants and the threat of taking away their citizenship. So that's a dangerous one. And it could displace now not only undocumented immigrants, but their children and the future of their children here. So he has restricted asylum before. And he is saying he's going to do it again. So the ways that he restricted asylum was that he did impose Title 42, where he could just turn people around, keep them outside of the country while they were claiming asylum. That he also kept people remain in Mexico policy, where people came to the border to claim asylum, and he said, wait right there in Mexico. We'll call you when we're ready to process you in immigration court, and then maybe if you get approved, you can come into the country. That left a lot of people living under very terrible conditions and dangerous conditions in Mexico. Since the Biden administration has come in, they have rescinded the Remain in Mexico policy, as well as Title 42. Well, that will come back. He has straight up said that he's going to turn children around. So he will turn children around using Title 42. And the justification for that is that they will go ahead and turn those children around to avoid child trafficking, to fight child trafficking. Now, for undocumented immigrants, he said that he is going to now use the assistance of FBI agents, the DEA, and even the National Guard to hunt down undocumented immigrants to get them deported. So here now we have an expansion of who can enforce immigration law, right? And who can do these things. Right now, for example, everybody knows ICE. They're saying that now they're going to use the services, they're going to extend that to the FBI, to the DEA, to the National Guard to do these things. Then under 212F of the US Code, he is looking at using presidential powers to cut immigration and cut out anybody who he wants to exclude. So it really does give the president the right to cut immigration if such immigration is going to be detrimental to the interests of the US. So he's going to use that to the fullest extent to cut out who the immigrants that he wants to cut out. So cut immigration, which immigration was reduced during that time. Now, keep in mind that right now, there are labor shortages, and statistics show rather that we need more individuals in the workforce, which means that immigrants would contribute to the United States economy. And here we're looking at possible threat to cut immigration, which would be a detriment to the United States. Now, he's also looking at implementing policies and processes to avoid the immigrant having any kind of legal process. So usually, for example, if you are at the border, you're coming in and then you claim asylum, and they find that you do have a credible fear, they allow you to go to court to make a case to the judge why you should stay. They will cut that out and they would jump straight to deportation. So they would implement policies that allows them to skip legal processes for an immigrant. So, for example, if they want to pick you up off the side of the street and send you home the next day, they're looking at policies that can do that. Now, they're also looking at designating drug traffickers as unlawful enemy combatants, and that would allow the military here in the US to target those drug traffickers in Mexico. Now, nobody is saying that we don't want drug traffickers to be that we would want drug traffickers to be we don't want drug traffickers to be targeted in any way. However, to now say that you're going to use the military to go into Mexico to be forceful in Mexico also means that there are going to be tensions with Mexico because that interferes with their own autonomy. Now, if you've been watching the news, you've seen that Texas has put floating barriers in the river at the border. And that has caused deaths of certain immigrants who are trying to cross the river with these barriers in place. So the Biden administration has sued Texas to remove these barriers because they are a detriment to the immigrants. And the last thing that is intended here is for the government to cause a loss of life. Now he said he'd end that barrier. Now here's another one. If you are coming in, so he's gonna get back the Muslim ban, right? So the Muslim ban is going to come back in. And when that ban comes back in, it's not only going to apply to certain Muslim countries, but it is also going to be applicable to other nations. For example, there were a number of African countries that were also on the country ban. For example, Nigeria was on that list. So he's going to extend that, and he's going to look at countries whose citizens have a high rate of overstaying here in the US, and he's going to target those countries. So it's going to punish everybody. The actions of some individuals in that country they're going to now come back and harm the entire country because they're going to punish the citizens. So the citizens who do come and travel on their visas, they're going to punish them. If they travel on their visas and then return to their country and they are regular travelers, they're going to punish those individuals based on the actions of immigrants who overstay if that country has a high rate of overstays. So they're also going to require a bond. So if you're coming into the country with a visa, for example, and they have doubts about whether you can support yourself, they are going to require you to pay a bond, a hefty bond. And if you can't pay that bond, you can't enter the United States. And they're also going to do health and wealth checks to make sure that you are able to come in and that you're not going to be a risk to the country, as in you're not going to end up staying or depending on the public assistance here. And they're also going to require health insurance for when you come in. So this is just this is a list here of what we could be seeing, and I don't. A lot of people during the first election, a lot of individuals did not take Trump seriously, and he did prove that he could do these things. There were multiple lawsuits pending. For example, he did pull DACA, right? So DACA is one of them. Who would think to take away the ability for certain children who have been here for a long time, to take away their ability to work, to go to school? Well, that's what he aimed to do here. And there were lawsuits to fight that. Same with asylum, same with the contraband, same with the public charge rule. We're going to start seeing those. So it's going to get a lot harder. Uh, in the past, it would take over a year to get US citizenship. So even if you're a green card holder, it would take over a year to get US citizenship. Now we're looking at I see the processing times at about 2 months to 8 months. But back then, because the aim was to make the process as hostile as possible, to make it as long and miserable as possible, delay immigrants' ability to get their status here, processes were very, very long, and we're still suffering from that. Processes are still long because of the policies that were in place previously. So all of that is going to happen. And they said within these goals that the list of things that I said here, he's aiming to do this in his first 100 days. And so even though you may be watching this, you may be undocumented yourself. You may not have the ability to vote, but what you do have is you do have your family members who may be citizens. They do have the ability to vote. You may be a permanent resident who can become a citizen. Get on it so you can gain citizenship and take part in having a say here. You have a say. And if we don't, we saw what happened here in Florida. A lot, some individuals did not enforce their right to law. Some people said, oh, what's the point? It doesn't make any sense. One vote adds to many votes, and it makes a difference. So in this case, because the many immigrants that live here did not, immigrants who turned citizens did express themselves through the election. We now have a governor. We have a governor here that has implemented a law that takes away a part of immigrants' ability to feel relevant, feel like a regular person here. They're like they are like individuals who are on the run here in Florida because of this law. So that can happen nationwide. If DeSantis gets the presidency, same thing. He has the same goals to implement inhumane laws like this that will make it hard for individuals to gain status. So with goals like this in place, there's not going to be a Dignity Act. There's that positive immigration reform is going to be dead in the water, because once they implement, none of this in any way aligns with the Dignity Act. None of the goals that Trump listed here aligns with the Dignity Act. So my advice is talk to your U.S. citizen relatives, your friends. Make sure that you help them to understand the issues here and to look into each candidate and what their immigration policies entail. Right now, Trump is a front runner, so he is in the lead, and it means that he is, if he's likely to become president if he gets sufficient votes, and if he gets the vote, then we know where this is going. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions. I just like to keep you updated, and I tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And right now it's ugly, and we need to just ring those alarm bells, because it's I have been there before, and I know how ugly it can get, and we're going right back in that direction if Trump wins or DeSantis wins. All right, so let me go to questions. So I'm going to answer your questions quickly. So just put your questions in the comments so I can answer your questions. If I overstay my visa, could I travel to another state by airplane on my foreign passport? Yes. So right now that is possible. Just make sure you have your current passport, and as long as you're staying within the United States. Now, before I move forward, I'm going to issue this disclaimer that this is general information. I don't know your particular circumstances, so you cannot at any point take this as personalized legal advice. While generally my clients, I can advise them to travel, there are certain risk factors. The risk isn't zero. For example, do you have a deportation order already? What's going on in your particular circumstances? Are you at a higher risk for being detained? In that case, that's where you need to make sure that you consult an attorney in a private consultation. Now, if you'd like to talk to me, go to the link in the profile. Click on the link. There's a button to schedule your own appointment. There's a button to go to the website where you can call, you can email, and you can do online chat as well as submit a web form. All right. So for marriage base, how soon after work permit do you get the green card? So there's no set time. It just depends on your case. My I-130 process is taking forever. It just say your form is taking longer than expected. So I'm not sure what's going on. Have you done a request, an inquiry into your case? I know generally they are taking long. They're taking about a year to get a decision on those. And processing times, they do vary. Okay, how soon after getting a divorce would you recommend getting remarried without it raising red flags when filing I-130? So, it depends. So I've had clients get married right after their divorce. You don't have to wait. But now, if you say you got your green card through a previous spouse and it didn't work out, and maybe you were separated, or this was within the first 5 years of you getting the green card through that spouse, didn't work out, you're either separated, maybe entered into another relationship with someone while you were separated, and then you got your divorce was finalized. Can you get remarried to them right away and get started on that paperwork? Well, no, because you have if you remarry within 5 years of your marriage to the person that got you the green card, then the immigration service is supposed to deny your application unless you can show by clear and convincing evidence that the marriage is real. And it can open up firms because they do investigate your previous marriage for possible fraud. So and you have to also show, by the way, by clear and convincing evidence that the previous marriage was real as well as your current marriage. So it's risky business. Now, if it was a situation where you got married, you were married to someone, but you never filed the paperwork, and then now you are going ahead and getting the divorce and marrying somebody else, then it's very unlikely that you have to wait in that case. I'm on F visa, can get married to citizen, how long it takes to get the green card. So I've seen anywhere from 5 months to a little over a year. How long does the filing take when a parent who is a citizen files for an unmarried child over 21? 5 to 7 years. Okay, didn't get a green card. There were no filings done. So usually, generally in this case, it should not be a problem. However, always get representation. I've seen too many people think that their case was easy peasy, and then something happened, and everything is gone crazy in their case, and they're waiting or getting denied or waiting years for the green card or fighting fraud accusations. So get legal representation. Can you please explain um, what's filing for an apology, and can a person with a work visa who overstayed file for it? So it's called a waiver in our world, we also refer to it as a pardon. I like to say apply for forgiveness for the overstay. Now you can't just say, you know what, I overstayed and I want to apply for this to fix everything. You have to be applying for either a visa or a green card to get this waiver. So that's in a nutshell, that's what it's about. What you need to apply for that waiver is going to depend on what you're applying for. If you're applying for the green card, it's likely you're going to have to show extreme hardship of a qualifying relative. If you're applying for the visa, then you just have to show certain criteria, like if it was based on a crime, that you're rehabilitated, you have to show the reason you're entering the country, and how severe is the act that caused you to be inadmissible. So it just depends, and that usually when you're applying for a visa, that's what you have to show. Or if you're applying for the T status as well, we do have to submit that as well. Can someone remarry your ex after divorcing and filing for your ex? Um, your situation sounds complex, so get legal advice for sure. What I can say is, whenever it comes on to remarry your ex, and then filing for your ex, it's risky business. You want to make sure that it's done properly, because you could have potential issues of marriage fraud if they see something isn't adding up here. So you want to make sure that you get for complex situations like this, multiple marriages, divorce and then remarry and then file for the spouse. You want to get representation. All right, so I'm going here onto YouTube to answer questions here. Um, hey, I got my receipt and it was transferred to another office. What's next for me? When will I get updates? I don't know. I don't know what receipt number you've gotten. Usually, when you're going through processing, sometimes no news is good news. It means that they're just heading towards a decision in your case. They're not going to tell you month by month what they're doing now. So sometimes no news just means that your case is moving forward and they have everything they need to make a decision. You can always call and check in just to make sure they haven't sent you anything that you need to respond to. If I'm in university, it depends on what you're here doing and what you're trying to get through for. How long can I be out of the US with my travel document? So there's no set time, but you don't want to spend months. I usually tell my clients, go for very short trips. Go for a week, go for 2 weeks, but don't be going on a month's worth of trips outside of the U.S. And travel sparingly. This is what I advise my clients. Don't travel every month, because you just you want to make sure that you're present here. So if you're needed in your process, you are available. I got my receipt number, I-360, I-45, 765. What's next? So I-360, is the VAWA, the I-485 is the adjustment of status, 765 is the work permit. What's next is probably your biometrics appointment. And do I need an attorney if I am going to university, have an update visa? Can I get a green card? You're never going to catch me saying you don't need an attorney. Get an attorney. I've seen cases where students do make mistakes on their visa and they get into trouble. So you want to make sure that you understand everything that you need to do, and that you are compliant with everything. My VAWA application is in process. I got an appointment next week for fingerprint. How long after that I will get my work permit and travel document? So it could be anywhere from 9 months to a year from the date of filing. My question is, you think it's better to apply before 2024? Yes. Yes, I think it is better. Why? I don't know your case though. Keep in mind, this is what I want to get across to you because I'm not your attorney. I haven't seen your case. I don't know what your circumstances are. In some cases, you may hear me say, don't file at all if it's something where you're just not going to qualify for it or it puts you at a higher risk. But if you do qualify, now is the time. Do it now. When they're a lot more immigrant friendly. They're aiming to be a lot, even though there's a long road to go, they're trying to implement more humane policies. So make sure that you pursue whatever you qualify for, do it now. Now is the time. Okay, so citizenship, definitely go for your citizenship and vote, have a say. So yes, no, citizenship, yes, but what's your situation? Make sure you get legal advice before you apply so that you know exactly what's coming during your process and that helps in the citizenship. All right, let me answer some more questions and then I have to head out. How do I apply for my daughter living overseas? So if you're a citizen or you're a citizen, say you're a permanent resident, then you can sponsor your citizen, your unmarried children, whether they're under 21 or over 21. If you're a citizen, you can petition for your um, unmarried child or your married child. It starts with the petition I-130. Can I call and get the price without paying for the consultation? You won't know a price. I won't know a price to tell you until I know what you qualify for. The valuable part of the consultation is not the price. I'm not making you book a consultation to get a price. I am offering the consultation to you to be able to advise you about your options and to advise you about options you may not have thought about. That's a valuable part of the consultation. And if that's not what you want to know, then you shouldn't be doing the consultation. So we don't just give prices. We need to understand what you qualify for before we give prices. What's a T status? So I put it this way. So it's for victims of trafficking. In a nutshell, trafficking is where you are here in the US, somebody makes you feel stuck or trapped in a situation because they're doing something to keep you that way. They may not outright threaten you, but they may do things like take away your money, force you to work for little and nothing, and then we're working for little and nothing, so keep working to get this money, so you're trapped in that situation. They may promise you something, promise you a work permit, promise you the green card, and not deliver it for you. So these are some of the things that can be done in trafficking. Doesn't have to involve physical violence. This can be done by an intimate partner or an ex-partner. This can be done by an employer. It can be done by a stranger. It can be done by a relative. If they make you feel like you cannot leave the situation without them telling you you can leave the situation, it can possibly be a form of trafficking. If, for example, an employer exploits the employees for sex, that could be an example of trafficking, sex trafficking, and labor trafficking. And I've seen that happen to people, especially when it comes to the H-2B industry, where you have an employer that then says, if you want to come back on your program, you know what you have to do for me. That can be a form of sex trafficking. So I say this: give me a call. I can help you evaluate your situation. If you were in a situation where you felt forced to do things you didn't want to do, and you felt like you couldn't leave the situation, whatever situation that is, and then we'll talk about whether you qualify for the T status. If I book a consultation, can I talk to you directly during the consultations? You will talk to me. I am the one that I do my consultations. I don't let other people do the consultations for me because I'm the one. I want to evaluate what's happening to give you my legal advice and tell you your options going forward. So, yes, absolutely, you'll talk to me. I had my interview about 6 weeks ago, and the officer said she was going to send an RFE for a document she wants in about 2 weeks. But till now, we have not seen any RFE. Should I be worried? Not necessarily. Sometimes it takes longer than usual. Just call, make sure it wasn't sent out, and it didn't get lost in the mail. Its TPS for Haiti will be renewed in 2025. I think it's likely that it's going to be renewed, but they usually have to wait to close to that period to announce a redesignation of Haiti as a TPS country. I think it's likely, though, that that's going to happen. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time and patience and for your questions. I am going to be back tomorrow, as usual, to take your questions and then also come with a topic. So the consultation is $150. All right. So go ahead. If you want to schedule a consultation, you can do it on your own. You don't even need to call the office by clicking on the link in the description of the video here on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitch, and on Instagram. Go to the link in the profile and you'll see everything you need to schedule your own appointment or get in touch with the office. You're very welcome. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.